What's going on, everybody? RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com. Hope all is well wherever you are. Hope you're happy, safe, healthy. Want to wish you a very happy Sunday, August the 10th, 2025. Hope you got some rest following Saturday night's preseason game for the Dallas Cowboys. Did a live show afterwards. Going to be doing live shows all season long now, following each and every single Dallas Cowboys game. You can watch those on Bleacher Report as well as here on the Blog of the Boys YouTube channel. Please make sure to subscribe. Obviously, like the video, tell a friend. You can follow me on any level of social media, any place that you consume content. I am there talking about the thing that we all love and the thing that we all hate, which is the Dallas Cowboys. Today, the day after the game, going to be doing this the day after every single Dallas Cowboys game this year as well. Winners and losers, very standard, simple stuff. So I hope you have come prepared to praise and to criticize. I've got 4 winners, 4 losers, and I'm certainly open to being swayed to adding more players, more people, more ideas to the list. So let's go ahead and get to it. So, winners and losers. And this is important to say at the very beginning because we all know it. I just want to get it on the record. This was a preseason game that we're talking about here, right? We all understand that it's not something that counts. We all understand that there's a lot to work out. We all understand that it was the first of a lot of things, right? First preseason game, first time for Brian Schottenheimer calling plays in a very long time. First time for Brian Schottenheimer calling plays for the Dallas Cowboys, right? Like we all understand no Dak Prescott, no CeeDee Lamb, despite the fact that he got blown up on the sideline, no George Pickens. Like again, we don't have to say these things over and over and over and over again. We all understand the mandatory qualifiers that exist surrounding this game, but that doesn't preclude us from being able to say that there were some obvious and notable winners and losers in one capacity or another. Lauren says the audio is choppy. I heard this last night. Let me try this here. I don't know what happened. Let's try. I don't know if this is going to help. Lawrence, can you let me know? I don't know if this is that helpful. Is that might be better now? I don't know. Uh, Scarecrow says the audio is bad. Are we back yet? Because I don't know what's going on here. I might have to get a new microphone, but I'm checking here. And everything should be good from a mic. Okay, better. Thank you very much, Scarecrow, letting me know that we're better. Okay, so good to know we're good. In case y'all missed the intro because the audio was bad, that's on me. We're here to talk about Saturday night Dallas Cowboys game. But I'm glad to know the audio is better. It looks like the volume was down a little bit. Let's see. I'm putting it back up. It keeps floating down on its own. I don't know why. But we're better now, so we're going to go ahead and leave it. Let's get to it. Winners and losers from Saturday night's Dallas Cowboys preseason opener. The easiest winner or loser really is Phil Mafah. I don't know how I don't think any of us thought that Phil Mafah wasn't going to make the team. Right? Like I don't know that we're breaking any news here. But beyond that, like if we crossed or reached new territory for Phil Mafah relative to the Dallas Cowboys, I think the biggest takeaway is that he must be utilized. Right? Like this better not be something where you carry this dude on the roster and he doesn't get a touch, right? Or if he gets a single touch in a blowout, or he finally sees the field in week 9 or something. No, no, no. It's very clear that Phil Mafah can help this football team. It's important, as we said in the post-game show, to contextualize the situation and say that we haven't seen Jaden Blue, we haven't seen Miles Sanders or Javonte Williams, and that context will matter. But I think that, look, I don't think it's exaggerating or hyperbolic to say that we have seen enough to know that Phil Mafah can contribute to this football team in 2025. That's what we care the most on. I was getting a text message about that. But I'm glad to know the audio is good. If Scarecrow, Lawrence, let me know if the audio still sounds fine. I do think that we're okay right now, but appreciate you guys keeping me on my P's and Q's. That being said, biggest winner, easiest winner, Phil Mafah. I've joked about this, but all offseason or post draft, I think I've had a lot of people say like, "Who's going to lead this team in rush? Who's going to even get the most carries on this team?" And that's been a very difficult question to answer. I kind of like the odds. I don't have any odds. I don't know if the sportsbook does have them, but I kinda like the odds on Phil Mafah leading the team in rushing. Like, I don't think you have to squint very hard to see that reality. So Phil Mafah is the man, and easily the biggest winner for the Dallas Cowboys. In the flats, his audio is really bad. Try messing with the cord again. It got better for a minute. How's that? Let's see here. Let's see. Are we good? This might be a cord issue. I don't know what's going on. Are we better now in the flats? I want to make sure that we're good. Obviously, don't want poor audio here. Are we good or not? If not, I'll get a different microphone and we'll get this taken care of right away, straight away. Are we good? Let me know, somebody, please. as soon as possible. And, are we good? No, let's see. We're gonna switch over for now. Let's switch audio inputs, and here we go. And same. I know the quality. Um, Lauren says it's listenable, but not great. This is the audio from the computer. I want to make sure we're good in the future, but we're going to have to figure that out. We're obviously on the air right now, so we won't be able to. How does this sound, everybody? I know it's not studio quality sound. I feel badly for Phil Mafah that his name is on the screen while we're figuring this out, but I know it probably sounds dingy the way a computer microphone sounds. Thank you, Scarecrow. Much better. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, we'll figure it out for the next video, next live show. Thank you all for letting me know computer audio is better. Don't know what's going on, but that is a work in progress. Paul says great audio now, so that's good to know. Okay, so we'll get the audio situation taken care of so we don't have the same bumps getting off the ground. But guys, we've reached 30,000 feet. We're stable. You can unbuckle your seatbelts. Don't get up, but you can unbuckle your seatbelts and get your electronic devices down so we can enjoy one another. That being said, audio is a future project. But Phil Mafah, the biggest winner, must be a part of things moving forward for the Dallas Cowboys. That is our biggest takeaway. Let's get to our first loser here. He's on the cover of this video, and I feel badly about this. But it's Brian Schottenheimer. Now, I don't feel strongly that Brian Schottenheimer is a loser from this game. I feel like Brian Schottenheimer is probably in a tough situation. I think that goes without saying. But I have said this a bit on the internet in the aftermath of the game. I think you got to play some dudes. I really, if I'm going to criticize Brian Schottenheimer, I don't have an issue with the play calling. I don't have an issue with the challenge at the beginning of the game. Like, none of that really bothers me. But going about this game in a lackadaisical way from Brian Schottenheimer as far as starters played, I recognize I used to be one of these people up until Saturday, I guess. I recognize that you don't want to get anybody hurt in the preseason, and obviously it's a contact sport, all this stuff. But I mean, like, look at this. This is a tweet from Bob Sturm, the great Bob Sturm. Let's put this up on your screen right here. And here we go. Here we go. So, whoops, whoa. There we go. I didn't know I could put myself on that side. That's interesting. This is from Bob's Cowboys 60, which is a great series he does on his Substack, where he essentially ranks the Dallas Cowboys in terms of the best player, the number one player on the Cowboys, all the way down to the 60th best player on the Cowboys. So as you can see, number one on his list is Micah Parsons. That's the determination, is that Micah Parsons is the best player, the most valuable, the number one player on the Cowboys. So the X's, as you see here, this is Bob Sturm's top 32 players, the formula that he, or the list he ultimately yielded. And of these top 32 players, 5 of them played for the Cowboys on Saturday. 5. And the ones that played are noted by non-X's in their name. Brandon Aubrey, Brian Anger don't really count. I mean, I'm not even trying to be rude here, but like that 2 of the 5 are specialists, really kind of hinders, or I think makes the point, doesn't hinder the point. Donovan Ezuraku, who's a second-round rookie. So if Donovan Ezuraku's playing, why isn't Tyler Booker playing? Going further down the list, because I know it's kind of hard to see, Maris Liu Fowl played, and Jalen Tolbert played. So of all the young people on this roster, like if we look at this, if you tell me, look, dude, the guys in blue, the top 10 here on this list, Micah, CD, Tyler Smith, Dak, George Pickens, Deron Bland, Osa, obviously Brandon Aubrey, Overshown, and Diggs, you don't want them to play? Fine. I get that. I can understand that. I can tolerate the argument of like, we have to be careful. You have to be precious, injuries, et cetera, et cetera. Tyler Booker, why didn't he play? Kevontae Turpin, why didn't he play? Jake Ferguson, coming off the injury, I'm willing to, kind of meet you in the middle there. Or Cooper, or the injury scares, maybe a better way to put it. Cooper Beebe, why didn't he play? Dante Fowler, maybe you want to give him a veteran day or whatever, fine. Sam Williams, I know he's coming off the torn ACL, but why did Sam Williams not play? Again, I'm not trying to be rude to any of these players here, but if you want to tell me, dude, Dak Prescott cannot play in this game, okay, I can tolerate that. Like, and I see you, Miss Felony Strutter, in the comments, says we need starters to play next game, including Dak. If you're someone who feels this way, you obviously do in all caps, then I still think that even if your super team play the starters in the preseason, I think you can understand why an NFL team wouldn't, right? Like we can all logically comprehend that. Okay, fine. But why is Sam Williams not playing in this game? Why is Marshawn Nealon not playing in this game? Why is Kyer Elam not playing in this game? And look, I recognize that this team is facing a lot of injuries right now, and so you get a little bit more precious or a little bit more protective with this idea than maybe you normally would. But you cannot tell me that, Kenneth Murray doesn't need to play in this game or whatever. Like and again, some of these situations are understandable. Like Jaden Blue obviously had the injury situation pop up this past week. We talked about Jake Ferguson, but I mean, goodness gracious, like you can't just rest everyone. And I'm not saying, oh man, like this is a huge problem or whatever. And I'm someone who has just recently, like within, as we're live here, the past 24 hours or so, come around to this idea, because I used to be somebody who was very, very, very against playing starters in the preseason. But Brian Schottenheimer, I mean, look, Miss Felony Strutter says one series is not going to kill them. This whole thing is new, right? Like if you're Brian Schottenheimer, you're brand new at this. And look, let's not act like the Cowboys aren't practicing, right? Like we can be adults about this situation. We understand that, when the Cowboys go out to play the Eagles in week 1, that's not going to literally be the first time that Brian Schottenheimer and the first team offense are working together. But I just do not see the merit beyond the fears of injury in not playing starters at all. I'm fascinated to see if there's some sort of bounce back from the Cowboys in their second preseason game, if they get maybe bullied into playing their starters a little bit, because so many people are talking about this after the first preseason game. But I think that there are absolutely merits to playing the starters in a preseason game, understanding that you have to be smart, understanding that you have to be safe, understanding that you have to take the proper precautions from an offensive play calling standpoint. You have to be careful. All those types of things, because what we saw on Saturday was a real lack of energy from the Cowboys early on. Again, 1 single yard of offense through their first 2 possessions, which encompassed the first quarter. If the starters are out there, they can move the ball. Things can happen, and you just kind of change the tenor. If you want to talk about changing culture, no one is sitting here because of a preseason game and saying like you're full of it, but this is a good place to start at the very least. Miss Felony Strutter says, I am not one of the people usually, but the Jones family told one of these people, I go what you're saying. I'm not one of these people usually. Like, I think your point, Miss Felony Strutter, is I'm not one of those people who says the Joneses interfered. Jerry's calling the plays from the suite. I'm with you. I'm not that person either. But the Jones family told him who to play. I mean, look, I think if you're an owner, and I don't even just isolate the Joneses for this, but if you're an owner, it makes sense to not have your most valuable assets compromised, right? Like it makes sense to say, dude, the season starts in a few weeks. Like we don't want to take a chance that anything bad, anything terrible is going to happen at this point. So I digress. But that was my first loser. My second winner, Trayshawn Holden. And I'm going to put this up on your screen. We're going to use this a little bit here. This is the Dallas Cowboys depth chart. Shout out to our friends at Our Lads who do a wonderful job of doing this. Let's put this up here. All right. So Dallas Cowboys depth chart. And here's the offense. And I want to look at the wide receivers, because let's say the Cowboys carry, I don't know, 6 receivers. And let's put Kevontae Turpin in this mix. All right. Say the Cowboys carry 6 receivers and Kevontae Turpin is in this mix. How do you get to 6? All right. We've got George Pickens, or just looking at top to bottom, George Pickens, Jalen Tolbert, CeeDee Lamb. We're halfway home, right? That's 3 of the 6. Kevontae Turpin is number 4. I think we all think they're going to keep Jonathan Mingo. He's number 5. Who's your 6th receiver right now? If you run the Dallas Cowboys, who is your 6th receiver? If we acknowledge that the top 5 receivers from a numerical standpoint, put them in whatever order you want, for the Cowboys are CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Jalen Tolbert, Kevontae Turpin, and Jonathan Mingo. Who is the 6th receiver you're carrying? Is it Ryan Flournoy? Is it Jalen Brooks? Is it Jalen Moreno-Cropper? Is it Trayshawn Holden? Somebody is going to have to take that job. And I don't know that Trayshawn Holden took the job on Saturday against the Rams, but I think he at the very least put his hat in the ring. I think that Trayshawn Holden, he's obviously had a good camp at this point. I think that Trayshawn Holden said, hey, I want that job. Now, I think that Jalen Brooks had a really good game as well, so I think they're the ones kind of battling for that 6th spot. But, I mean, man, it is going to be a difficult thing. Maybe Trayshawn Holden's a name who we see the Cowboys try to stash on the practice squad, get him by, whatever. I know we're always scared that they're never going to get the guy that we love on the practice squad. But I think that Trayshawn Holden is at the very least, I think in an ideal world, is a part of this team, is a part of this organization across 2025. Craig says number 19, that's Ryan Flournoy. Miss Felony Strutter says, to me, the Holden at OT, Flournoy removed. Okay, let's be kind to Jalen Tolbert. I do think it's interesting that Jalen Tolbert played in this game, because if maybe you're not a fan of Jalen Tolbert, but I think if I asked you to tell me who you think the Cowboys think is their third receiver right now, you would say Jalen Tolbert, right? That's pretty obvious. And if you put all these facts, these aren't necessarily opinions we share. Let's keep that context in mind here. But the Cowboys have told us, if you are even slightly valuable, I see Miss Felony saying Turpin. We acknowledge Turpin's in his own special box because of what he offers from an overall perspective. But the Cowboys have told us with a neon sign, right? Like, hey, if you are even kind of important to us, you're not going to touch the field in the first preseason game. So imagine knowing that and then being someone like Jalen Tolbert and being told to get your shoulder pads in your helmet. That would be uncomfortable. But at the same time, that's somebody who I think when this team first trots out in 11 personnel, we all think is going to be on the field, right? Because that's kind of the role he's played, and it makes sense. And I think we think he has a chance to succeed in that role, especially because of George Pickens. Like, we've talked about this forever and ever. But yeah, I mean, I think I think that Jalen Tolbert's job is like 90% safe. I don't mean to say confident. I don't want him to lose his job, but if I had to bet on somebody to take it, I think it would take more than Treshaun Holden really, really, really having an amazing camp in preseason. And he's doing that so far, obviously, but I do think that ultimately Jalen Tolbert is probably safe. But nevertheless, I think that Treshaun Holden was a huge winner on Saturday for the Cowboys. And I think that Jalen Brooks was a huge winner for the Cowboys on Saturday. And it's always easy to fall in love with a lower drafted or undrafted free agent wide receiver in the preseason. It's just a stereotype at this point. Like, it happens because they're the ones making the plays and making the catches and, catching the touchdowns. Granted, that didn't happen in this specific game, but I do think that the Cowboys have some receivers down the roster who can contribute, and that's really exciting. And we're not even mentioning Ryan Flournoy here. Poor Ryan Flournoy didn't really have a chance to show anything because Joe Milton was throwing the ball with every ounce of strength that he had. And so it's an interesting time. But winners for me: Phil Mafah, Treshaun Holden, Jalen Brooks. I've got one more winner. I might as well get to it now, and it's pretty obvious as well, and it's Malik Davis. I think if you had to pick 4 running backs right now to play for the Dallas Cowboys, to build your Dallas Cowboys roster, we've discussed this. I think that everyone is taking Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, Jaden Blue, and Phil Mafah. But Malik Davis, in a very limited bit of action on Saturday against the Rams, made an argument for himself. Malik Davis really, I think, made the conversation interesting. I think we all understand, or we would all predict Deuce Vaughn to not be on the roster, but I think Malik Davis can really make the conversation interesting about Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders. I know that all throughout the spring and the early parts of the offseason after the initial waves of free agency, we thought that maybe one of Miles Sanders or Javonte Williams would be cut, before 53-man rosters were ultimately finalized. I think that Malik Davis could really make that a reality if he continues to play well. And what a find, the fact that he just joined the team or just rejoined the team and is playing so well. Granted, it was late in a preseason game. It's really cool to see, especially because, like me, Malik Davis is a Florida Gator. Let's go, baby. Anyway, Jeremy says, I thought I saw Tuia getting pushed around. Did you see anything different? It was not the best game for Jay Tuia. I'm not an expert on interior defensive line play. But John Owning, the fantastic John Owning, who I believe is the expert on such matters, has a great Twitter thread. If you want to go check that out, we shared it on bloggingtheboys.com. And John is my North Star when it comes to things like this. And so to your point, Jeremy, my initial kind of assessment, 30,000 foot perspective, because we've established that's where we're at on this airplane, was that Jay Tuia did not play well. And that felt corroborated by what John thought. So a bit of a tough scene. On the subject of tough scenes, we have 3 more losers to get to. 2 of them are more wide-ranging ideas. One is an individual player, so we'll knock the player out here. And if it isn't obvious, I think that Deuce Vaughn is – I don't like the word loser. That's why I've always called this a stock report, so to speak. But if you're talking about somebody whose footing within the roster, is lower or is less stable today – after the preseason game than it was before. And I don't even think Deuce Vaughn's footing on the roster was firm to begin with. It's Deuce. I mean, the fact that we're sitting here and we're like, well, can Malik Davis take a job from Javonte Williams or Miles Sanders is not a good thing for Deuce Vaughn. Deuce Vaughn has obviously had some time and it just hasn't worked out and whatnot. And obviously it's an incredible story and we're rooting for him always and wishing him the best always. But it wasn't that great of a preseason debut for Deuce Vaughn. And as I say this, the Houston Astros are continuing to own the New York Yankees. That's fantastic. Jose Altuve scoring once again. Keeping it, Geeb, thank you for the super chat. Says, RJ, do you think Micah will be on the field week 1? You know what? Keeping it, Geeb, let's kind of get to this because I have 4 losers and we've already discussed Brian Schottenheimer and Deuce Vaughn. And I mentioned I have 2 that are not singular players, but are larger ideas. And this is effectively one of them. One of my losers was the Micah Parsons situation. And I wrote here, as you can see, because it is still a situation and the Cowboys have literally played a preseason game now. I want you to think about this. I want you to think about this deeply. The Cowboys have now played a game. It was a preseason game, but the Cowboys have now played a game, and the Micah Parsons situation is still a thing. Like, when it was still a thing in May, it was annoying. When it was still a thing in the dead of June, it was annoying. When it was still a thing when the team got on the plane to go to Oxnard, it was annoying. When it was still a thing at the first padded practice, it was annoying. When it was still a thing when he put his statement out that he wanted to request a trade, it has continued to be nothing but annoying, and now we are a full preseason game in the books, and it is still a thing. It is impossible that this is still a thing. Yet somehow, some way, the Joneses have trapped us in this cycle of, I don't want to even call it mediocrity, but petulance and pettiness to where they're damaging and sabotaging this team because reasons. It is so silly. It remains silly. It is somehow sillier than it was when it was inordinately silly at each of these last checkpoints that we just discussed. But to the question, keeping it deep, do I think he's on the field week 1? If you had asked me, and we did some live shows the day of the Micah trade request, because if you recall earlier in the day, there was the report that he was getting upset from The Athletic. If you had asked me that day, which was let's say Sunday, like 9 days ago, I would have said that I was 99% confident that Micah was going to be on the field week 1. And that 1% would have been because of the fact that anything is possible, right? Like, we live in a world of infinite possibilities, et cetera, et cetera. So that would have been my answer. I'm still at like 92 to 95%. Like, I'm very confident, but I've slipped a little because, like we just sort of discussed here, I mean, it's been 9 days. It's been 9 days and a full preseason game has happened. So why is this still a thing? So I'm still very confident, but for all the people who are like, when is this going to get done? It's always worth saying in that conversation that it took until the day the season began for Dak Prescott, which was 4 days later or 3 days later than the day the season begins for the Cowboys this year, because the Cowboys play in the season opener on the first Thursday of the year. But I mean, obviously this has, I don't think I'm like saying anything anybody doesn't know here. Like, this has felt different than Dak. This has felt different than CD. The fact that Micah has requested a trade makes it very different than any recent, contract extension dispute the Cowboys have had. I know I had a video that went out, on what day was it? Thursday, on Thursday, saying that, like, we have to at least consider that the trade request is real, right? That we have to at least consider that Michael legitimately, really, actually wants out. I know that we all kind of don't think that that's the case, but it's at least possible, right? Like, based on everything to this point. So I'm like 92 to 95% confident that Micah is going to be on the field come week 1. Maybe he'll be on the field just a few hours after having signed his extension, the way Dak Prescott was, obviously, week 1 in Cleveland last year. And I appreciate the question, particularly because it was a super chat, keeping it Geeb. But the fact that it is a question is so dumb. I mean, we all know that this whole thing is dumb, and we all know that this whole thing is silly. Yet again, today is August the 10th. If you subscribe to the channel, first of all, like, seriously love you. If you watch every video, like, really, really, really love you. And a funny joke question that I asked 2 guests in the last few months in terms of some conversations that we posted here. I interviewed Tom Downey of Chat Sports and Skywalker Steele, whose YouTube channel is amazing. Everybody go support them. Always support all Dallas Cowboys content creators, because there's so many wonderful ones. But I asked them jokingly. I said, I looked it up during the conversation when the first pitch of the Little League World Series was. I've always kind of joked that the Little League World Series is awesome. And I mean this because it's cool and everything. And if you're someone who's enjoyed it, then I hope, you've had a great experience with it. But the Little League World Series, when it comes around, that football is for real. It is the last kind of sports thing to happen before football takes over the globe, right? So when the Little League World Series is here, we know football is right around the corner. And so I asked both Tom and Sky, I said, hey, do you think the first pitch of the Little League World Series happens before or after the Micah Parsons extension? Well, right now you can turn on ESPN this second and the Little League World Series is playing. So it was kind of a joke question, but we got here nonetheless. So, hey, it is what it is. Final loser for me. I mentioned I had 4, and it's the idea of depth. I saw this post from Marcus Mosier. I really liked it. The Cowboys have a very top-heavy roster. I think we all know this because they don't fill it out. They don't do everything they can to get proper depth. Like, we're not here to discuss that specific part of this. But when the top part, when the heavy part is absent, it really, really, really shows. Now, let's take a look once again at the Cowboys depth chart by way of our lads. We discussed from Bob Sturm's note that 5 of the top 32 players for the Cowboys played in this game, and 2 of them were specialists. So, I mean, if anybody significant, if anybody notable has to miss time for the Cowboys in 2025, this has obviously been the case for not just 2024, not even just the Dak Prescott era, but anytime significant players have had to miss time, this team has had a very, very, very difficult time overcoming that. And dude, I mean, like, look at this list. This is our lads' projected depth chart of the Cowboys. Obviously, George Pickens didn't play. Jalen, it's easier to do the ones who did. Jalen Tolbert did play. That's it. I mean, this is the starting offense. And so defensively, in terms, Mozzie Smith, okay, great. But, you know, that's it. Like, you're talking about a team who, if any one of their 22 starters, all due respect to special teams, if any one of them has to miss time, things are going to be very, very difficult. I mean, it is going to be a tough road for this team. And so the unfortunate part of that reality is, and I think we all knew this ultimately, but like, you know, and look, I think it's important to not have a hard, dramatic, oh my gosh, you know, hot take coming off of a preseason game. But that being said, if you can have a hard take or a hot take or whatever, it's that, yeah, like the depth on this team is simply not there. Like players 1 through 22 from a starting standpoint, we feel really good about, we think can obviously challenge, can succeed, can do different things, whatever. But the moment that legitimate depth is going to be called upon on a consistent basis, if they have to play for a month or whatever, if there's some sort of injury, it's a little bit tough. Even the backup quarterback, who we all should still be excited about, still needs some time, still needs some development. Like there are different parts and different elements of the roster down to the 53rd player that we have some serious questions about. So the idea that this is a deep roster, you have to have a deep roster in the NFL to compete. Like you look at the best teams in the NFL, and they are who they are, not because they have MVP caliber quarterbacks, star wide receivers, or star corners. Like those things clearly and obviously matter. But the best teams in the NFL are who they are because the 42nd and the 51st and the 39th players on their roster in terms of 53-man rosters are legitimate and can help them. They can thrive with them. They can lean on, they can depend on, they can call upon those players, and they can survive for a month at a time or 6 weeks at a time until the reserves come back, the stars come back, and they can be carried once more by the top heavy part of their respective roster. Right now, it's hard to say that the Dallas Cowboys are one of those teams. And I think that that's one of our primary concerns coming off of Saturday's preseason opener against the Rams. All right. So my name's RJ Ochoa. You can follow me all over social media. RJ Ochoa is the way to do that. At most places, RJ.Ochoa on TikTok. RJ.Ochoa@SBNation.com is how you email me if that is your thing. My apologies for the audio issues to start the show. Obviously did not know that. Our postgame show had some audio stuff going on. I thought that was just like a momentary thing, but I will do my absolute best. I will give it my all, my entire effort to get the audio issues organized once we get off of here. Next show will be on Monday, and so definitely the audio situation will be taken care of. But thank you to those of you who powered through, and especially to those of you who helped me figure it out and kind of troubleshoot. I'm sorry that this audio was a little bit different, had to use the computer microphone, but you know how it is sometimes we just got to get up in the air, and we've landed the plane now, and that's ultimately what matters the most. But let's go ahead and let's get out of here. I hope you all have a great rest of your Sunday. I hope you enjoy some football or some baseball or some Little League World Series, whatever's going on. I hope it brings you immense joy, and I'm really appreciative to anyone who took some time to join me for a little bit here to talk about our favorite football team. But please like the video, please subscribe, and let's go ahead and let's get out of here. So I love you all. Eat something delicious and watch a good movie, and Yeah, go Astros. Gonna beat the Yankees. It's a good time. Trying to keep the Mariners at bay. It's a tough time, but I'm not scared. I promise. Thanks so much for hanging out, everybody. We'll see you next time.